I was doing I don't do karaoke, but I started karaokeing like at 1 a.m.
Mm.
because nobody was on the mic, and then I ended like at 4 a.m. And I was just by myself singing
Oh wow,
Queen
nice.
song.
Was this at a bar or just in where were you at?
So
Just at the
in
house?
yeah, in
Nice,
the living room, and
nice.
the mother-in-law was preparing the menudo for the next morning, and then some of the family members were just on the floor, and they fell asleep. I was what do you call it? Cooing them with my singing
You were
voice,
lulling them. You were lulling them and cooing them
lulling them
with your song.
with my songs. Yeah, and then the next day I just split because they were doing the same thing, and I was just like, you know what, this is too much. I got stuff to do.
Yeah. Yep.
You
And this
know?
was at your mother's house or your
And
grandmother?
yeah, in El
Yeah.
Centro,
Yeah.
in yeah, mother-in-law's house. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. It's good with the family. Nobody was sick this year so far, so that's nice. Because at Thanksgiving, I got the COVID and it was just an annoying cold at that time. So it's downgraded, which is nice. But it was like right here in
Ooh,
the sinuses. But that was it. It's just
yeah,
like a cough and sinus pressure. And then that was all.
yeah. I know. I remember the time where you had the what was it, the dog flu, or the not the dog flu, but the desert flu. Don't they call it that?
I know there's the bird flu, all that
The
other
bird.
stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
the norovirus, I got that. Oof, that was like years ago, and that just destroyed, went through an entire house and all the way through all the family. It was nuts. So,
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah.
Anyway, so most of you don't know, but this is George Seeley from Priority Lending. He is a creative finance guru, master, and when I first met him, we synced, because we thought mostly alike, right? Obviously, he was ahead of the game
Hmm.
by like a decade or two.
Are you saying I'm old? Is that what you're doing?
You're seasoned, well seasoned,
Nice.
and we've stuck around. I think it's been what, almost 7 years now.
We're getting there. Yeah, I think so. It doesn't feel like it's been 7 years, but I think you're probably right. I'll have to go back and look and
Yeah,
see, but
always
I think it has
hustling.
been that long. Well,
Time
initially it
flies.
was you as the consumer, and then it
Right.
switched to you as the real estate agent. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So
Wow,
we
that's
did
weird.
that. Did a few investment deals, and then yep, started helping out my clients. And I love the way you elaborate on things. Just like, not everybody has it, and you're
Oh, well, thank you.
fortunate. That's why you're successful. I think so.
Thank you. I try to put it in English because the job can be like completely ridiculous, and then you sound even more ridiculous being like a nerdy loan officer, and then you have to. Like I had just a conversation with a borrower right now. I started
Uh-huh.
saying all these things. And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, that sounded like English, but I don't know what you said. I mean, I know HVAC units, but I don't know what you said." And I was like, "Oh, well, you know HVAC units?" I'm like, "Oh, okay. So think of the compressor having broken and blah blah." And I gave this whole scenario. And
Uh-huh.
by the time he was done, he was like, "That makes perfect sense." I was like, "Yeah, that's all we're doing with mortgages, man." And he's just like, "Oh, okay, cool." So you just connecting it to the individual and helping them understand the complex supposed lending process makes a huge difference. So,
Right. And I see that when you do that with me, because, I studied interpersonal communications and
mhm.
stuff like that. So I realize when use my language and all that stuff, you're great at it
Oh,
anyway.
thank
So
you. Right
so
back
what
at
was
you.
it? Yeah. What was it? The appraisal or something? There was an inspection that they had to do on the HVAC. Not that
Oh
I want to
no,
get.
so he was trying to understand, if you want to get really super nerdy, he was trying to
Let's do
understand
it.
how mortgage interest rates affect how the 10-year treasury note affects mortgage interest rates. And it really was just a simple comparison of supply and demand. So I said, just imagine there's a shortage on compressors for your HVAC equipment. Probably takes
Mhm.
longer to get, and when you do get it, it's more expensive because they're raising the price because there isn't many. He's like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "But then they up their production, flood the market with a whole bunch of compressors. The price drops, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I'm like, "That's exactly what we're doing with mortgage interest rates. We're just waiting for them to reduce the amount of bonds, and just there's more of them available. The rates drop, and you're good, and you get a lower interest rate." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So that was the
Yeah.
discussion that we had and helped him understand what was going on with the future for interest rates and why they were going to come down.
A big value item that you sent me in the beginning of our lender consumer relationship was, you sent me the I don't even know what that signal is, but the TNX.
Okay, yeah, the 10-year treasury note. Yeah.
Right. So I could keep track of it. And then we had a discussion, like usually they mark it up by 1%, and then that's how they get their lending rate. But that
Yeah.
fluctuates too. And it's just lender to lender. I mean, like, I
It
guess
is.
the
Well,
cheapest that
and
I've seen it
well
was
now
five.
just to add to that component, normally it should be 1%. Then they added it to 2%. And now let's see how far off they are. Now they're
Because they're trying to mitigate risk, right?
yeah, so they're adding margin to that 10-year treasury note over and over again. So right now the 10-year treasury note is 3.75% roughly. Okay. And interest rates are at 6.5. So they've added almost 3 percentage points in margin when it normally should have been two. So rates today should be
Mhm.
5.75 and they're charging 6.75 or 6.5.
Right. So why are if the prices are going up, the unaffordability is going up, why would you exacerbate that situation? And if you're trying to mitigate it, wouldn't you actually just reduce the margin to make an affordable payment? I mean, because
So
people are living paycheck to paycheck for the most part.
yeah, so the banks aren't thinking about the person, they're thinking about their bottom line. So they make these loans, right? And the Fed comes in and says, "We are going to kill you and we're going to raise interest rates forever." And everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, like why are you going to do this to me?" So
Right.
then so then the bank says, "Well, if I make this loan today and I package it and I sell it in 3 to 6 months from now, once it's all done, right? I got to package it together into what's called a collateralized debt obligation or CDO, sell it on the secondary market. The Fed keeps raising interest rates. We lose. We have to lose our profitability if we kept the margin at 1 to 2% because we could lose 2 to 3% in margin when we go to sell it because the Fed keeps raising. So they preemptively added more to it to
Oh,
anticipate the risk of the Fed bringing more higher interest rates and their loans being less valuable as time passes. So that's what
right.
they did.
So the brokers are trying to, stay afloat, make sure
Yeah,
that
the
this
mortgage
profit.
bankers. Yeah, all the mortgage bankers are just like, look, it could be way worse. They may raise another 3/4 to 1%. They keep saying their Fed funds rate is going to be 5.5, 6. And so we're right now at 4.25. So that means you have a full 1.5% upside that by the time you go to sell it, that loan's 1.5% less in margin, and
I see.
you just lost money as a bank. So they're just automatically charging the current customer the expectation of what the Fed could do in the future.
And that's because the consumer is asking for money. I mean, none of
Yeah.
it would be possible unless they had cash and they would just buy cash. But they're the lender, the brokers, whatever, they're doing us a favor in letting
Yes.
use other people's money to,
Yeah, because
realize or
they don't have to lend. They don't have to
come
give
to
you money.
agreement.
And so just they're just like, look, we're scared because of what the Fed's going to do. So if the Fed stopped screwing around with interest rates, then the banks would go, oh, okay, cool. And then they should reduce that margin because the competitiveness of the
Mhm.
market would be that bank A, it's like, oh no, I'm not dropping my margin. But bank B says, sure, I'll drop mine. Well, then all the loans go to bank B. And then eventually bank A has to start dropping also to stay competitive, or they just don't get any loans at all.
So
So
when
right.
we saw that 0.5 increase, there was a flurry of people just rushing in because they knew they could get like almost what half, not half a point, or yeah, maybe half a point.
Well, yeah. So the 10-year treasury note maxed out on I have it right here, maxed out on October 21st of last year. And then
Okay.
it's just done a retrace right now to a point 0.5 level. Should pull back a little bit, go one more high, and then should drop. So I'm imagining by February, March, we should have really good interest rates back in
Like
the fours and
four.
fives. Fours and fives, yeah.
And how much does it cost to purchase points right now? So like if
Well,
it's 6 or 7, how much do we got to pay for like a five, four essentially?
so it's not a set scale.
Yeah.
So you're gonna so a point is 1% of the loan amount, and how much that's going to buy you depends on the loan product, the current rate environment, and all those types of things.
Yeah.
So and then when you keep going lower, the banks create what's called a floor. They don't want you to go lower than a
Uh,
certain level. So it's could be like 1% gets you like 1% in points can get you like a half off the rate, but then like 1.5 points gets you like 0.618. And then like maybe even below that, they're just all the same. There's no,
yeah.
it's like 10 points. They're just like, we don't want you to go that low because there's no market for it. So they create a floor where they don't just won't let you go lower, regardless of how much you pay.
I think there's a conversion in there between the point and the actual interest rate. Because you said
Yeah.
you buy one, but it's actually 0.5. Something on paper to make sense.
Yeah, and it's we'd have to make a visual of it just to kind of show a
Yeah.
rate sheet and just kind of see how there's this floor level that builds in. But basically, plan on 1% buy down point, and then that rate what is whatever it is. And sometimes it makes sense, sometimes doesn't, based off the time of the consumer staying in the property.
And it's the actual consumer because it's based on the FICO score as well, or no?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of
So
stuff. Okay, I do have a personal question really quickly.
sure.
What is it? Adjustable mortgage rates,
Yeah.
adjustable rate mortgages. Are
Yep.
we
Arms.
do we
Yep. Adjustable
got
rate mortgages. Yeah.
those back?
Yeah, they are, but I don't do them because
Why not?
as I price them, I haven't seen anybody price them better or very much better to be worth the risk. So for example, I mean, I could pull up a rate sheet here in a moment, but like a fixed 30-year would be, let's say, 6.25 on a conventional, okay, 30-year fixed. And then you go to do an arm, which is fixed for like 7 years, you get a rate of 6 1/8. So instead
Oh,
of 6.25, just slightly lower, 6.125, but in 7 years' time, your rate could go up. So it's
right.
like, why even do that?
Why risk it? Well, I mean, suppose you're supposedly going to refinance in 2 years.
But if
Anything's
it's only an eighth improvement on the rate, it's just not
oh,
it's just
improvement.
not worth it to create the variability component. And so
The
what most people
discount.
have been doing is been the 2-1 buy down, where it's a 30-year fixed, but then in the first year they buy the rate down 2%. So let's say 6.25.
Yeah,
Year one, it's going to be 4.25, and year
right.
two, it's 5.25, and then year three, it's 6.25. But it's always been
That's
uh,
awesome.
six and a
Shorter.
quarter for the full 30 years in case rates never come back down. Do I think they're going to come back down? Yes, but in case they don't, that's a solution that people have been doing.
Okay. And then, but I mean, you have to pay for that luxury, right? To
The
bring that
seller,
to
the seller has to pay. Yes.
the seller. That's what they're doing right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay. All right. So how do you want to start the conversation?
Well, I figured, well, we've done it already, but then
Yeah.
on top of
Well,
that,
the meat and potatoes of this, right?
yes, of course.
That
Well, we could just jump in because the goal is to do a monthly meeting for Arizona, Southern Arizona's market statistics.
right.
And then you can take this information, throw it online, and we can also at the same time use it to help people who are hesitant to buy or sellers who are hesitant to sell, to get them in the right frame of mind to do the behaviors of either buying or selling, as they know more information.
Right. So yeah, educate the public and stuff like that. I often get people who ask me, it's not the right time.
Yes.
It's not the right time. I'm like, well, it's never the right time. It's about, is it the right deal?
Yeah. Well,
You know,
I guess, yeah, I'd say but I'm going to step back because when we go into the data, you're going to see is a right time and a very, very clear seasonality in
mhm.
Arizona of when you should be buying and or selling your houses.
Well, let's take a look at it.
Okay, let's jump in. So let's pull this up here.
That was a
All
nice.
right. So this should be, hopefully, there we go. Perfect. There you go. Let me make this big.
All right.
All right, and we're still on here. So, all right, so here is the monthly statistics. This is November of this last year. Okay, so we'll be getting the December statistics out probably in another 2 weeks or so. So when that pops, we'll jump into those and do it. But this is
Okay.
a breakdown that the multiple listing here in Southern Arizona does for all of the homes. And so what we can see here is, and can you see my cursor on the screen
Yeah,
as
I
okay,
can see it. Yeah.
yeah, it will record it. I just want to make sure. So, all right. So we have change in closed sales on all properties. This is just a quick fact section. We're going to show what's kind of an overview, and then we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes and show how this looks scary or possibly a concern, but then it ends up not being as big and scary as it looks. So closed sales down almost 50%. Okay.
Wow.
Huge, huge reduction. And this is, I believe, these particular statistics of 50% relate to,
And this is November, right?
yeah, this is November. This is year over year. And so then you have the change in median sales price. So that's if you put all the houses on a plot map and grab the middle guy, that's the median, actually
Yeah.
up 8.6% year over year.
Okay, so values are going up, but just the volume went down, probably due to the season.
Yes, that's exactly right. Look at you segueing in perfectly. And then finally, change in homes for sales, we had a 51% increase in the number of homes available to buy, which sounds scary, but we're going to actually show, so there's more inventory, but we're going to
Yeah.
show that it's so undervalued because there isn't enough inventory, even with a 51% increase year over year, that it's actually not a big deal. And so we'll kind of jump in here. So we're going to go kind of in order here. So this is just kind of a market overview. We'll skip through that. Townhouses. All right. So here's kind of where we begin. And we're just going to go slide by slide. But
Yeah.
as we get towards the end is when we get the stuff that really is the main breakdown. So
Okay.
this shows us that, and actually let's pull this graph in here so we'll try to, because we're over here on this corner. Let me pull this over here. There we go. All right. So this shows us that the single family homes back in December of last year, we had new listings coming onto the market of 1271 new listings. Okay.
Okay.
And then this year, we only had new listings of 1,087. And that right there, you can actually see this is what we talked about new listings, the seasonality. So you have a ton of listings. This is going back to 2008. Whole bunch of listings, reduces in the winter, pops in the spring, reduces in the winters, pops in the spring. And we have this very, very cyclical market in Southern Arizona that during the holidays, you just get a massive pull down in the number of new listings. People just aren't putting their houses on the market during that time. Okay.
Right.
Now, you can see in 2020 here, kind of at the end, you kind of get this weird, wacky, like lull in listings drop right here in the middle of 2020. And that's just because people were concerned about COVID. So they just didn't list their houses. And then it kind of returned to the seasonality component right there in that weird little spot there. So there's your listing component. Pending sales, those saw a same seasonality here, but you can see the anomalous behavior. So here's back in 2008, pending sales goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, really, really up. In 2010 goes down, up, down, so on and so forth. Very consistent, right? And then you get over to the 2022 where the Fed raises the interest rates and you have this massive fall down, right?
Wow.
Returning us to the levels. If we just carry this over at the end of the year, this would carry us back to homes being listed in the market as they were back in 2014 towards the end of the year. So we had gone from 1,200 at the beginning of the year or the end of 21, 15, 16 listings, and then just boom, disappeared. So pending sales. So this is just sales stopped. People got freaked out. Inflation came into the picture, election time, all that good stuff. And the people just said, you know what? I'm just not going to buy. And that
So
was
it's stabilized in a sense. I mean, we're only looking at November anyways. I mean, December really doesn't count.
yeah, but you can see that this is like a seasonality, right? It kind of comes down to this line right here. And we actually didn't go as high and we broke lower on sales because home prices had gotten so high in the spring of 22. And then the Fed came in and throw in rates, which reduced affordability even further. And it pulled down the total amount of new pending sales going under contract.
Right. So now this is the setup, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
This is the setup. Exactly. So then you can see that.
Springtime.
Yeah. Same thing now with closed sales. Here's your closed sales. Look at the exact same massive drop off. And again, these closed sales fall all the way back to the 2014 and 15 December levels. So we've had a massive amount of closings. We only closed 770, and our average for the last year has been 1291.
Wow, that's insane. Only 700 in a month?
Yeah, for a population of 1 million plus people.
That is crazy. I mean, that's
everyone just turned off, just completely turned off. Now, fortunately, because we have the products we have, my volume did decrease dramatically. But we still got contracts coming in left and right, which is great. So people are still buying. It's just when you see that number, that's a 47.5% year over year decrease from the prior year. So, and it's pretty substantial, right? So then,
so I still have people buying too. And then now we're asking for seller concessions. And on top of that, in some cases, I'm seeing appraisals come over value now. Have you been seeing that?
Yes. In fact, I just had one that was purchased for 180 and it came in at 189 because he just got it as a private sale. So it was already 10 grand over.
That's what I'm seeing in the transactions right now. So we're asking for is just additional credit, as much as we can get from the as much as
Well,
we can finance and then just keep in their pockets.
and so that's perfect because we're going to skip the days on market. You can just see it's getting longer from where it
Mhm.
had gotten way too short at 18 months, right?
Yep,
Or
yep.
18 days down here at the bottom. But we're still dramatically lower than what you would show here in the middle. This is a balanced market right here, and I'll get more detailed into that. And so there you are. And so this balanced market is where we should be at roughly 75 to 100 days on the market. We're still
Mhm.
at 37 days. That's amazing for our market. We're just not as fast as 18 days on the market. So we're still doing good here. But this is what you were just getting to, and that I think is important to understand. This is the median home price. So you can see that it's been on a tear since 2011 down here, right? So here's your 2011 of September. We'll use the dark black line. And it's just been going up and down, but consistently heading to the upside, right? Now,
Mhm.
same thing with this light gray one here, too. Okay. Both of these, this is condos and townhouses, and this is
Right,
houses.
right.
So you have here in the middle here, the median sales price. Again, everybody on the plot map grabbing the middle guy. The median puts you at 380 for a median in July and May, somewhere in that zone. And we've
Yeah.
come from 380 down to 365 for the median, which means there's some lower end home selling as opposed to
Mhm.
higher end homes because it's the middle. It's not the average, it's the middle. And so
Right, right.
that has moved, but still 6.3% year over year. So from the prior year, we're still up
So appreciate
6.3%. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's still going up, and you can see that even in the year where we have the zones here, it's not like a dramatic spike down. It's just holding.
It's
It's
steady.
stalled. It's sideways.
It's
Yeah.
sideways, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So so not yet. There's no sign of dramatic price weakness coming into play.
It's
And then,
normal and it should be that way because it was tearing up for such a long time. I'm
well,
kind of happy that we're just kind of
stalling. Yeah, it's giving time for
yeah.
a resting period for everyone to rest into it. And so here's the average, and this actually tells you more of what we just did. So now we're taking all the homes, averaging them over. We actually went down to in September 426, which was still 9% over the prior year, but now we're back up to 442 on average. So we're actually
Right.
going back up, and you can see that right here in this graph, in this little zone here, where we've actually curved back up again.
Yeah.
So
At
because
the end of November.
yeah, because rates have gone from the sevens and eights back out down into the fives and sixes, and so it's starting to bring demand back into
Yeah.
everything. Now, here's what you were talking about, and it was had gotten on the percentage of price received for the offer. It had gotten all the way up to here's your 100% line right here,
Yeah.
and it had gotten all the way up to 103%. So people were offering on average 103% of what the sales price was, and now we've fallen to 98.3. So that's your seller concessions coming in. So it's but even the 98.3 takes us back to historical standards where we're like better than we were in 2015 again, right? See, so we're still above
Yeah.
this level here. So I think with the interest rates coming down, people being tired of being in the market, and this is where the perspectives are for the buyers and sellers. Sellers need to recognize they're not going to get 103% of their offer. They're not going to close in 3 days. They're going to
Yeah.
close on average faster than normal, but a month on average, month to month and a half, a week. And
Yeah.
then they can choose to give concessions if they want to, but technically per the supply, oh, here's where we come into the supply and demand. The affordability, is still dropping. So it's still not getting any more affordable. And that's a mixture of interest rates and prices. But
Right.
here's where it comes into play. So the inventory goes into, we've seen where we had fallen to an unsustainably low inventory level where we had gotten down to 1,400 homes and even as low as right here, which is almost
Like
like
how
1,200 homes.
yeah.
Okay, so we've gone to 1,200 homes. We should have, on average, 6 months supply of inventory. So I'm going
Mhm.
to switch to this one. Here's your month supply of inventory right here. So we should have 6 months supply, which means if no new homes were added to the market, we would be able to sell them all, and it would take us 6 months to sell them all if not a single new home was added. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
a 6 month supply of inventory.
Yeah.
Right now, if we take the total inventory and the average of the inventory, or even the monthly closes of only 700, we are sitting at 2.5 months supply of inventory. Okay.
It was just still below. I think December is going to be like 3.5 or something.
I
But
think it'll probably move up too. Yeah, you're right. And we might not see any more listings because new listings dramatically tanked in November. So all the people may have just pulled their listings off the market completely. So what we should be is we should be floating right here in this zone where we're at 5 to 6 months supply of inventory.
yeah,
But then we've been on a since 2016, just sucking all the inventory away and got so insanely low on the inventory with a demand picking up with low interest rates and COVID and people moving. It led to this massive buying just starting in 2016, just sucking all the inventory up, the month supply of inventory. Now we've had a little bit of a relief, but we're only sitting at 2.5 months supply
right.
when we should
Which
be
is
at
still below
6.
average.
Yeah. So technically, what you would want to tell your sellers in this circumstances, if you want to give concessions, that's fine, but it's not
Mhm.
technically necessary because you only have 2.5 months supply of inventory. The fear is there, right? The perception that they're not going to get any buyers has emerged in their minds. Okay. But
Right.
as far as the inventory of homes concerned, we should be sitting here at 6,000 to 7,200 homes. Okay. 5 to 7,000 homes to be average, a
We
balanced
haven't hit
market.
rock bottom yet. Yeah.
We're at 3,000. So we're off the bottoms, but we're not like up here. We're not where the housing crisis was, where we were all the way back up to, it actually goes higher over here, up to like 10,000 homes on the market. Okay. So we're not
Mhm.
at 10. We're not at 1,000. We're at 3,000, but we're not at 6. So we're still moving towards center line, but we're not there yet, which is why the average is going up, right?
Mhm.
Because there's no
Right.
inventory still, despite the fact that there's been all this rate increases. There still isn't any inventory. So the average is increasing year over year and has been going back up these last 2 months. Okay. When it hit a low in September.
Mhm.
And the percentage list price receive has maintained itself pretty well in the 98 range here for the last 3 to 4 months, but it's
As
no
far as,
longer running
yeah.
at the massive clips it was of 105%, but that's seasonality too, right?
Yeah, as
So,
well.
so you have that. And so as a seller, you may want to wait on the market a little bit longer, get a good deal, may or may not give some concessions, and you can probably be within 99 to 100% of your offer price. And then it's up to you if you want to give concessions or not.
Yeah, but that they would have to wait to list till like maybe March or April, right?
Yeah. So as we go to the seasonality here for closed sales, you can
Mhm.
see that most of the closings are happening in March, right?
Yeah. Right.
March and August-ish or April through May, March through May before the summer.
Yeah.
And then that's when the closed sales are happening. So they would want to list in January and sell in February, or list in February and sell in March.
Yeah. So I was thinking this. I have a rehab property, the
Yeah.
one on Colebrook, and I was giving it at a discount right now, like at 325. But I'm thinking like since nobody bought it during the Christmas season, I'm like, well, I think I might raise it maybe 5K because I
Yeah.
know it'll sell in February or March.
Well, is it on the market now?
It's on the market right now.
Yeah. So I would delist it because being listed through the winter months, as you can see, this massive drop off. I mean, just boom. I mean, just huge reduction in the closed sales, just fell apart. I have had massive amount of prequals. Everybody's getting ready to buy. The rates are reasonable-ish, for where they, again, fives and sixes. So rates are in an okay zone. And so I would delist it and probably list it back on at the end of January.
That's funny how that works. Like I usually delist at 20 days. If I don't sell something in 20 days, it means that I need to relist it.
Yeah.
But that's funny how that works, though, isn't it? Like,
Because they think something's wrong with it if it sat there for too long.
right, right. It's
So
only
they
been on the
just
market for I
it's
think
all a
20.
weird mental game. And so really it's nothing wrong with the property. It's just that all the buyers dried up, you know?
Yeah,
So, and the sellers disappeared. So everybody just said, no, we're good. We'll just stop. Right. And we'll
right.
just hold. And so, and then now you can see that the days on market increased because of the people who were left, and then a seasonality component as well, right? Holidays.
Right.
And yet I expect the median to continue up. I expect interest rates to drop or maintain the levels they are right now, which will create some stability. And it's not as high as 8%,
Yeah.
which was in people's minds. And so
Right.
then you just keep having the average price continue to move upwards, and this list price receive is just the gift. So now flipping it from the buyers to the sellers, well, the sellers could take this into, well, we know the buyers disappeared, right? So we still have
Yeah.
3,000 homes on the market, right? Oh, I went,
Right.
sorry, let's get there. Sorry, virtual eyes if you get dizzy. There we go. 3,100 homes on the market right there. Okay.
Right.
But we're only selling 770 in the winter months. I expect that 770 to pop back up to 12 to 1,300 here pretty quick. Well, if we move up to 1,300 on a 3,100 amount, and we go back to an average of 1,300, that's putting us right at the 2.4 month supply, which is where we are now, which means home prices are going to keep going up. And I expect the
I know.
Fed will probably do maybe one more hike in January, maybe. I think the inflation number on February. They do it in February. I think the inflation number on the 12th of next week is going to come out and come
Okay.
in really, really, really good. And it's going to be way faster reduction in the inflation costs than was
Mm.
happening in the prior reads. So it's going to accelerate its downward trend. And I think we're going to have a massive year, early part of the year rally in all the markets. I think bonds are going to come down because now inflation has been cured, which is what the Fed has been working on. And they want
Yeah.
a 2% inflation target. If we don't get an acceleration at all, we've met the inflation number by June. So if we get an acceleration to happen, we're even faster. So there's a chance that they may do a quarter or maybe even zero in February for the Fed meeting. And then it's just go time. I mean, everyone's going to be, the rates will come down. That margin that the banks added will dissipate because they want to
Mhm.
be competitive because the Fed isn't fighting them anymore. So
Mhm.
that goes away. So they go, well, we don't need this margin anymore because we're safe. So then they cut the margin, the rates fall even faster than they normally would because now that margin's gone. And then everyone in the housing market in the spring is ready to do it anyway, and then pump out the news articles that say rates are back down from the highs of 2021. It's over. We're in the new world. And then that's going to be, and then if the Fed has to start cutting because the economy starts slowing, then that's going to result in rates getting even better. So I expect by the end of 23 to the early part of 24, we're going to have some rates in the threes, twos and threes again.
Yeah. So you're saying you're speculating that we might be in the 2% inflation rate by
June. If we
like
just
or
continue
Q2.
trending as we've been trending, which has been 5 months of his October, November, December, and soon to
Yeah.
be January. So 3 months so far, and soon to be January's print. If we just keep printing at the reduction level that we've been going, we
Yeah.
hit the target forecast the Fed wants by June of this year.
I
Six.
think in like one quarter we only moved like 3%, right? Because it was like 9 point something 6 inflation rate, then it went to 7.1. And then I think we should see in the next quarter, like, I don't know, 3 point something or 4 point something.
Well, we moved 0.4, I believe, between the last meeting, right? So
Right.
we went from 7.1 down to
Or
9.7, I think. I can get it pulled up here if we need to see it. But anyway, the point being is if it's 0.4, let's just say it's 0.5 a clip, right? And we're
uh-huh.
sitting at 6. So 6 minus 5 or 6 minus 2 is we need to do 4%. So
Yeah.
4 at 0.5 divide is 8 months. But I think it was greater than that. So then the projection would be that in 6 months' time, we should be there.
Yeah.
6 to 8 months will hit their inflation mark that they need. And that's already happening without them even raising. So hopefully they pause for a while, which I think is what they is most likely. They'll probably just do nothing and pause January, February, March, April, May, June. Then the wheels start falling off and then they'll start cutting.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's not like a snowball effect where it's gradual. I think it's like they're cutting drastically, and then it's gonna like just hit real hard.
Well,
It's
can
gonna be
you
a gut check.
can you see where that would look like that happened here on this chart? Let's pull back up.
Oh, yeah, I saw
Can
that
you
big
see can you see anything that's exactly what you said, where it just falls right off a
it's just
cliff?
a gut check. Yeah, it is right
Yeah,
there.
there it is. And
That's an anomaly.
this is the closed sales. It's an anomalous behavior. I mean, you can see
It,
we can move from one top of the bar here to the bottom of the bar here, top of the
yes,
bar
it's
here, midway through the bar here, and we did it crazy fast. I mean, just it was like
capitulation
boom.
in the real estate market.
Yeah. So exact. So think of it. Every time those sales don't happen, that's everybody moving companies, furniture companies, landscaping companies, um, dishware, couches, um, real estate agents, mortgage lenders,
Yeah.
utility hookups. I mean, everything stops when you don't sell a house. Like for each house, I think I heard it was like there's
Oh yeah, everything is intertwined together. Yeah.
yeah, but all of those industries don't, appliances, everything just zeroes out because there's no main driver occurring. That's why housing is, I think, like 40% of the economy is housing in the United States.
What?
Yeah, because if you were to take it and just bring it through from the sale of that house and how it manifests its way through the entire economy, it's like 40% relates to a house.
Oh wow, I would love to see that.
I'll have to get the exact statistic because I know it's in that 30 to 40% range is the housing of the US
It
economy.
makes sense because everybody needs a house.
That's right.
Everybody needs transportation.
Yep.
Everybody needs to eat. And then you have medical on top of that. I mean, that's pretty much our
That's it.
existence.
Yeah. And then there's just your hospitality stuff for the
Hospital
extra stuff that people you can do with.
death services, but
Mhm.
that happens every 50 years or whatever. 70. What's
Yeah.
anyways
Yeah.
going down rabbit
So
hole.
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so that's exactly what you were saying though, which was a dramatic
Yep.
drop off. And that's why I think it's going to continue to accelerate. I mean, even in these
It
trend
has to.
lines here, we were ranging in this whole zone, but now we're way back into the 2014-15 levels here, right?
Yeah.
That's through November. So we're way back here, and we're actually, you could even argue we're as low as 2011's prices when the 2009 was the bottom of the house prices.
I could
Uh,
see that.
so we're right down in here. I mean, this is crazy low. So that's that fall off. And that's all that money that didn't go into the economy. And that's all that money that is sitting, waiting. And I think now that rates are lowering, you're going to have a ton of demand return. And
Yeah.
that's going to result in a lot of people uh, buying in the spring here. And
Right.
with more inventory and the seller's fear, they're going to get good deals.
Yeah, definitely. Because they're not very privy to the market or whatnot. I mean, they're
Mhm.
they're working, they're doing their own thing, but it's like us, the people who talk about it every single day in depth. And we still have December numbers to come in too, so that's probably going to
Yes.
drop down like maybe 2008 levels, right? But it's only
Exactly. So I think you're right. I mean I don't know about you, for the first time in 15 years. Normally it's like really busy, but it just kind of turned off in the last 2 weeks. It was kind of nice finally getting a little bit of a break.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've been in it. Well, my father-in-law since 2005, and I've been in it since like 2000. I would say 12 when I became a landlord, but 2015 we started selling
Mhm.
consistently,
Yeah.
and yeah, definitely. But you know what? We made. I mean, everybody made a lot of money. Consumers, whatever. And now it's just like a month of a vacation of rest. That's
Yes,
the way.
I'm feeling pretty recharged and it's pretty fun to get all the people out there. So here's the takeaway for everybody, both sellers and buyers: inventory of homes for sale. Okay. So I tell people, they go, George, I'm scared of the next housing collapse.
Right.
Prices are going to tank. I should probably wait. I'm like, nope, you should not wait. These are buyers. You should not wait. And the reason you should not wait is this month supply inventory for homes for sale. No, I'm sorry. Here we go. Month supply of inventory. This is the one. So
Okay.
back in the housing collapse, we've already established the average balance to market where neither buyer nor seller has an advantage is 6 months supply. Okay.
Right.
When it got out of control, got out up to 10 to 12 months supply back in 2007, 8, and 9. It's actually even higher. It was up in here. So when
Right.
you had the first warning signs that the problems were coming in the housing market, we got to an 8 month supply of inventory, and that you would have had a year to still sell your home and make more money if you started getting ready to sell when you saw the first flash of 8 month supply of inventory. Okay.
Right. Right.
And we could pull that up
They
on
could have
another.
10.
We can do like a historical throwback kind of video if we want down the road too, showing what it was like in the housing collapse and how it's different now.
Ooh, that
And
would be good. Yeah.
yeah, so we'll do that too, just monthly updates and everything. So we have this right here, throwing
Okay.
back, it was way high, not sustainable, collapsed as soon as the lending disappeared, it was over, right? So
Yeah.
then you drop all the way down this way. Now you're balanced for the years of, we can argue, towards the middle of 12 all the way through maybe 16 here, early part of 16. But then long before COVID-19 happened, the inventory just gets chipped away. And what caused this here in Southern Arizona? No builders wanted to build. They'd been destroyed
Really?
financially. So they just underbuilt the entire area in Southern Arizona for 15 years. They just didn't, they were like, oh, that sucked. So they
Now
didn't.
they can't even keep up.
They all get brokered. Yeah, they all get bankrupt back here. Few survive. They just pitter along. And then the inventory gets less and less and less because we're not making new product, right? So just less and less and less and less and less. And we're already down to a 2 month supply of inventory. Then COVID-19 hits,
Yeah.
where everyone
Everybody goes
says,
on a shopping spree.
yeah, and they go, I don't want to live where I'm at anymore. I want to move. And that
Mm.
results in this huge downswing to only less than, it was like
Wow.
0.8 months supply of inventory. It was stupid. It was like 3 weeks supply. And
Yeah.
now we've come back off of that level with the Fed intervention, but we've got to get all the way back up to here to be balanced. And we got to get all the way up here to be uh,
Dangerous.
in a danger zone of owning real estate, a bubble. So
Well, that only means you just gotta wait. It means
yeah,
you can't do anything for a while.
well, as
You
a buyer,
out.
you need to buy now and get the house immediately so that you can then hopefully
Right.
refinance in the future and get a lower interest rate, but you got the house. And as a
Yeah.
seller, you want to chill. Just throw a tenant in there, chill for a year, or if you need the capital right
Yeah.
away, you get a good price, but rotate it into something else because you're going to be missing out on the appreciation because there just isn't inventory.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's okay. So just with the lack of inventory, that's what's missing there. So that's what I tell people. I just say, go to get this every month, go to page 13, look at it. If it's 6, don't worry. If it's 6 or less, don't worry about it. If it goes to 7 or 8, start getting ready to sell. Watch it each month. And they just set a calendar reminder. They go to the website. Oh, it's below 6. Okay. And that's what people need to know. They just need to know that number. And then they can do the rest on their own.
Yeah, it's I mean the regular consumer doesn't understand that sometimes you just gotta get the right deal, right? It's not about timing. You
Yes.
gotta get that deal, and then right now it's even better to buy because it was almost unaffordable in the respects that the purchase price was so high, but now they're kind of leveling off a little bit. And
Yes.
then on
And the
top
rates are
of
dropping.
yeah, then the seller concessions they pay for the lender fees or
Or the buy
what do
down
you-
points.
financing fee,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually a really good deal. It's a better deal now than it was like the beginning of this year or the middle of the
Yes.
year.
Of the 2022. Yes.
So it's like, are you kidding me? Like, it's a discount. It's like
Yes.
Black Friday.
All of my investors are buying right now. They're all getting stuff because they know that if they get in now, they'll get the deals because they know there's no inventory.
Yeah, the numbers are making sense again.
Yeah. And then they'll just refinance the rates down if they borrow.
Yeah.
Because that will happen. I mean, there's going to be a day of reckoning for the speed at which the Fed raised interest rates, and
Right.
that will result. And in my opinion, the only reason they did this was to get away from zero, so that when the economy starts coming backwards and going down, they can just cut, and they have a long cut period that they can draw out. They can do a quarter every time they meet in reduction, and that can last
We
them
talked
2
about
years.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this and I know another guy, John Kutsameda, he was expecting, negative financing.
Could happen, yeah. I mean, because that's what Germany had to do and Japan. So yeah, could go negative. That'd be
I
pretty.
mean, we
They pay
went in the
you to
one,
borrow money from them,
right? Yeah, more money, and then it's just accelerated.
or no,
We were in the one,
you pay them for them to borrow the money from you. That's what it is.
right. Well, yeah, it gets flipped.
Yeah. So right now they're paying interest to us. If we gave them money, they would give us interest
Mhm.
at 4.25%, which is wonderful, right? That's huge. And if inflation's out of the way, then you get this great rate of return. So your value of your loan goes up. And then in the future, though, it might be so wonkadoodle that it's negative. You're paying the federal government to take your money from you to just have something better than zero or negative 0 or negative 10, right?
And it's already happened, like you said, right? Japan, Germany.
Yep. It's already happened in history. So it's out there. Just
So
US hasn't
we're
done it
just,
yet.
yeah. I mean, we have to go there. The direction we're going. I mean, I guess they could do it 0.00001. Like
Yeah,
just
something like that. Yeah.
just post the the zero line there. I could see
Yeah.
them doing that just so
Mhm.
we don't flip it. I mean, how does that impact the economy if we do
I mean, we're in
well?
bad shape. The economy's already impacted. I mean, there's something bad going on in the economy, which will result in negative rates because people are so scared of putting their money anywhere that they'll pay the federal government to hold their money because of lack of default compared
Or
to,
finance the government?
yes, yep, more
So
so.
it's not really the economy, but it's really the
Well, just
government.
if you put, I mean, everything is in trouble, right? So housing prices in that scenario, this, I don't know how far this, where there's no sign of that scenario yet in housing,
Right.
but housing could be collapsing on values. Stock market's ripping down to nowhere. Gold is tanking, silver's down. Like there's nowhere you could put your money, zero
Ooh,
places that you could put your money to be safe. So you're going to go
what?
and pay the federal government to get you close to zero, and you're going to pay them a quarter or whatever to lend.
Well, at that point, your money isn't worth anything as well, right?
Nope.
Because
Yeah.
it's a
Because
government problem.
by the time you draw the money out and go to use it, the cost of XYZ thing is more because the money is getting devalued. Yeah.
Inflation, right?
Yeah. Stagflation and inflation, yeah, all that stuff. So
Okay, here's a quick one. I know we're like talking for a long time, but that's great,
sure.
Um, so what's worse, a 7% inflation rate or stagflation at 9%?
Stagflation.
Stagflation all the way?
Yeah, because inflation is the cost of everything going up in prices, but stagflation is your purchasing power, everything's going up in prices, and you're losing money in your purchasing power at the same time. So it's going like double worse.
Double worse.
Yeah,
So the magic number is 2%.
is what the Fed wants. Yeah, they want 2% inflation. And so I suspect that the January 12th inflation print is going to be even faster than that zero point 0.5, zero point 0.6 change month over month that we've been seeing. And I
Yeah.
think it might clock a big old negative print. Again, where are we getting this concept from? Right back here. We already have the data, and the data is showing us that closed sales, just boom, right through the,
Yeah.
that's a huge reduction in money into the economy. Therefore, there's no demand to buy stuff, so there's no inflation, right? Because things aren't going up because people aren't buying them, so the prices are dropping, and that results in this massive print can come in. And I think that's then the good news that inflation's out of the way. So then the recession concern has already come into the picture. Now, what if they push so far, so fast that they kill us all with a recession? There's just jobs and layoffs and everything's horrible. Well,
Yeah.
I think that could start manifesting itself pretty quick, and it's already happening. And that then results in the Fed maybe laying off. And once they say they're laying off, it's go time. Rates will come down. Everybody's going to feel rich again. Stock market's going to return to their levels.
Yeah.
Uh, and so there's going to be this big old retrace moment that emerges. And I think that's going to be now through May, early part of May.
I think it's going to be long suffering. Just look at what they did with COVID.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years, 3 years now. It was a good solid 2 years where they had us captivated, right?
Yeah.
And they did not care when mom and pop shops just, you know,
Went under.
uh, went under. Yeah. So, and then
Biggest wealth
we're done.
transfer in history was
Shouldn't there
all
be
the
like,
money moving from the little guys to the big guys.
yeah. So, and what did the federal government do? They had those PPP loans and all
Yeah.
this like stuff, but in part it's due to the mom and pop shops, not like, doing online sales and doing the Uber drive thing. But some of them did succeed. But yeah, we did see uh the government just, they came too late. They try to give those PPPs out way too late in the game, and
Yeah. I
sad.
mean, yeah. Yeah. But who said the government ever did anything right? So
Yeah, right.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. It was. I mean, it was a big. Positive would be that everyone came together to try to make things better. From what they had before. So it was good intentions. But those good intentions led to a very crazy time period. But it was already happening before, especially with housing. I mean, we went back to the inventory number here, right?
Mhm.
Um, Where's our inventory? Median, average. There we go. So the issue was already manifesting itself long before COVID ever generated, because we were floating in this inventory range of being balanced, and then we started getting under levels of inventory, and there's your COVID right there. And then that's when it went we, and then we, so but it was already doing it, right? We were already seeing that, and that was because it was a perfect storm. Builders had underbuilt, then demand picks up, boom, that's when you have this massive pull down. And so, and even now inventory is still not going up anywhere near as high as it was, because I have borrowers all the time who have a house, maybe their mortgage payment is $900 a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they bought it back, way back in here, right, in 2011, 2012. They bought it in here. They've refinanced since. They've got rates in the twos for 30 years. It's $900 to $1,200 a month, and they can rent the house for $2,600 a month.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. Timing, right? Timing's everything. And we can even go to the median or average. Here we go. There's your average. So they bought it down in here, and they refinanced all the way up through this zone right in here, right? So they just got the lower and lower interest rates locked in, and they just bought down here. So they've had all this appreciation going from an average of 180, 161, I believe is what it was. And now they're sitting on an average of 450,000. So they got all this equity, great low interest rate, loans already been sitting there for, since a decade, right? So they've got 20 years left, stupid low payment, turn it into a rental for $2,600 a month rents for a $1,200 payment. They get to keep the difference, right? The $1,400. Go buy a new construction home.
Buy new construction? Why?
Yeah, just buy anything. Just buy a big brand new house, new construction, new something. Just get a brand new big old house. Yeah. And take the $1,400 to offset that payment, and then refinance those rates down when times come. Yeah, so that's what everyone's doing. That's why there's no inventory.
There's a lot of in-house financing too with those new homes. Like you can get 4s and the 5s and stuff. Like they'll finance your concessions for sure.
Yeah. I just did a turn down that we closed just before the new year, and it was the builder's lender couldn't do it, so we jumped in and got it done. Did it in 2.5 weeks with the holidays, and the builder gave a massive amount of credit that allowed us to buy the VA's loan down to 5.5 interest rate.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And then down the road, when the rates fall, he can do a streamline and streamline his rate from 5.5 down into the 2s or 3s when they get low enough. No appraisal, no nothing, just gets the new rate and he's done. So he's like, this is perfect.
Yeah. We flipped a lot of properties, and I think I want to get into the rental game. Like I got that one on Coolbrook that I think might just turn into a rental. Well, and do an equity play,
So, I mean, the only time in that scenario that you would want to not would be as if you over improve the property that the tenants are going to trash. So if you just did standard, features or durable stuff that's nice, but not like really destructive or not high end, then you should do it, because I always tell people don't turn a flip into a rental if you did the wrong steps going in, right? So don't be like, well, maybe I'll just rent it.
Yeah, what was the strategy originally? I mean, we didn't overdo it. It was just a simple cleanup, If
it's just simple cleanup, then you're fine.
You're right. And I used to be a landlord, and I guess I still am, but on a different scale. And it's just you need property management,
Oh yeah, it's what I always use them. I don't like them, but I always use them.
Yeah, I don't like them either, but you know what? Sure, why not? There's a good company in Tucson. I think it's called I gotta send you the link, but they do like 5%.
Oh,
but they charge up front. I think it's like half the rental amount up front, and then it's 5% onward. But what I like about them, it's kind of like an 8%, almost 9 or 10%. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're really good at giving you like the highest rental amount. Like I've seen some of their work, and it's like, wow, how are you getting that much money as a rental?
Yeah, send it my way, because my management company, it's probably getting close to that time to switch.
Yeah, I think it's called Vistoso Properties, but I'll send you that.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
but he's really good. I mean, I always recommend his services if I don't keep it in house, and really, really good at getting some crazy rental prices. I don't know how he does it, really, really
I
weird,
just
but good.
yeah, rate properties or something. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, but there you go. So that's this last month's marketing data. So and when the next one comes out, we should reconnect and do it. But it's really fascinating because all of the news stories and trends that they tell you,
Yeah,
it's not here, not in our market. Could be nationwide,
right.
but it ain't here.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's the market of Tucson. And
Hmm.
then we have the market of Imperial Valley in California.
Yep.
It's just different. And then you have San Diego. That one gets, punched pretty good. But
Yeah.
Tucson, I think, is one of the ones. I mean, you have so much commerce there.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so many corporations. You have the international headquarters of Caterpillar. You have Raytheon. You have
Mhm.
Amazon. You have Tesla. What are they building? A dealership or something like that?
Dealerships, and then I think they actually have a Tesla battery plant up in Phoenix.
Yeah, they got that, and then you have that one electric car company by Red Rock.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's just so much, and then you have Davis Monthan Air Force Base.
Yeah.
You have all this money just naturally coming. Then you have Banner, the hospital.
That's right. The medical, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you have all that, and then
And
you
then
have
it's squeezed by the mountains. So the mountains squeeze it in, so it can't really sprawl as well as other areas.
I didn't even think about that. I guess so. It's pretty
Yeah.
condensed.
And that's why the building was underdone because there just isn't as much land to build. So therefore you get a higher price.
Yeah, I would actually argue that Tucson's a border town because border towns are shielded
Hmm.
by Mexican currency that comes into the United States. So you have Nogales, which obviously hasn't
Yes.
even, but the next Tucson is actually a border town. I'd argue that,
Yeah, yeah.
so
It's not far.
that
It used to be the main border town, and that's why they put that Costco down on I-10 and I-19 because they're getting all the people who will drive in to the nearest Costco from Mexico.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why Tucson is shielded. That's why all these border towns, El Paso, you just have all
because
that
they have
money.
another income coming in from another country. Yeah,
So we need our own consumer reports.
we should, and that's what this is wonderful because it gives you all the data of the housing stuff, and you
Yeah.
can see it that it's you can glean all of those things you just said by the continuation of the average going up. Yet everything tells you it should be going down, and it did. Then it's popped right back up again.
Yeah, I thought I thought that's because they were asking for seller concessions. That's why it moved up.
Well, it was the freak out. I mean, so rates got really horrible in September and right in
Yeah.
September. So they started in June, and you can see we hit 458. Then we started in June 453, 440, 430, 420, but then we started going back up again, 430 and 442. So yeah, so it's moving back the other direction. It's just kind of took a pause.
Yeah, I did took a pause. All right, great. So interest rates are around 6% right now, right?
Yeah, fives and sixes. I
Sixes.
expect in the next 30 days we'll see him move back into the really strong fives and sixes, but definitely
Oh,
like sixes across the board right now for sure.
okay. Awesome. So and maybe fours like in March,
I'd say yeah, March, April,
maybe a little
maybe
further
somewhere in
out.
that zone. The timing is hard, but it's going that way. I just don't know how quick it's going to get there.
I think a 4% is fine, just fine.
Oh yeah, that's huge. Fives and fours and fives is where it should have been for a long time.
Fours and fives, yeah. Sixes, it's not that bad. I mean, it was sixes for like in the early 2000s, anyways, right?
Yeah. Uh, yes, before. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was doing sevens back in like oh 07. Oh yeah, oh 06 and oh 07. I was doing 7% loans.
Okay, sounds awesome. So, do you have any like last minute advice? I mean, you already gave it, but maybe like a one
Yeah,
liner.
just stay with the data. The data doesn't lie. It's fun for me to look at every month, and you just check out page 13 every month and see if it's greater than 6. If it isn't, buy or sell.
Well, that's easy. Okay,
Consolidated. So good.
sounds good. If you guys are interested in getting in touch with George Seeley, feel free to reach out to either me or Mr. George Seeley at Priority Lending. He always somehow manages to pick up his phone.
Nice.
Uh,
Well, most of the time, yeah. I'll call you back quickly if I don't. But
yeah,
yeah, my phone number is 520-977-9775.
there it is. All right. Thank you, George.
All right, talk to you soon. Thanks, David.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.